for immoral behavior, and the FBI and the ATF. It was a good excuse to do what they did out at Mount Carmel.
The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms was originally established to collect taxes for the U.S. Treasury Department. Today, their mission is the disarming of the American civilian population. Therefore, the Branch Davidian Church near Waco became a target for extermination. Branch Davidian Church members compare it to an attack on a Viet Cong village, made even more curious by the newspaper articles that had just been released. In a display of flagrant disregard, the Waco Tribune-Herald began running a series of reports about the Branch Davidians on the same day of the ATF assault. Equally curious is the fact that it was the undercover agent, Robert Rodriguez, who brought copies of the newspaper to Mount Carmel that very morning.
Papers were brought in the morning by Robert, and I came down there when he was showing them to the different people that were down there, and I read a little bit about it, but then one of the men went out and got some of the papers and brought them back, and a little later I came back down and picked paper up to bring it up to my room to read it completely, and I noticed two cattle cars coming in and pull up in front, and I ran upstairs to read the paper. I thought the men were going to do something with that. I didn't realize it.
Catherine went upstairs to her room, and the attack on Mount Carmel began.
After I'd gotten upstairs, I heard 3 helicopters. The reason I know there were 3 because I looked out the window to see where they were, what they were doing, and they were firing on us.
With a search warrant of questionable legality, agents of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms launched a raid on the Branch Davidian Church home. It was Sunday morning, February 28, 1993, and Catherine Mattison is absolutely positive that government agents fired the first shots.
I saw and I heard it, and I was in the back of the building. That's where my room was, and they were firing toward David's room, and they turned, and when they turned, I fell to the floor because I could see that those bullets could have hit me if I was standing. So they went to the front of the building, and it seemed like when they got in the front, by the time they got to the front, they were firing again, and so all the others were firing.
When questioned further about her observations that day, Catherine was adamant. She was certain of what she saw and heard.
Definitely. They were the only ones I heard and saw at the time that they were coming in the helicopter. There was no one else firing.
Questioned separately, Annetta Richards' testimony is virtually identical to that of Catherine Mattison's.
I was actually getting ready for worship, and I heard a noise like an helicopter, and then I heard bullets start firing, bullets start coming in from every direction, and the helicopters were flying over the building. The sound of it was so low that at what time I thought they had landed on the roof. It was really so low. And bullets were coming from all directions, and I heard a voice saying, "Get down." So those of us who were there in the hallway went down on the floor on our tummy, on her hands and feet. And I looked around and I saw some children. So I took them close to me, and there was a baby. A little 10-year-old girl was holding her. And I took the baby from her and lie over him, put my body over the baby so that if the bullet came through, it would hit me instead of the baby.
There is corroboration for their testimony of gunfire from the helicopters. It comes from one of the Branch Davidian children who left Mount Carmel that evening and was later told by psychologist Dr. Bruce Perry.
And as I asked her, is there anything else? She took her crayon and went, and I asked what that was, and she said that was bullets.
No sooner had the dust settled than the ATF began to lie and cover up about their actions during the raid. They acted as though the Branch Davidians had come looking for them.
The main problem we had, I don't believe, is that we were outmaneuvered or outplanned. The problem we had is that we were outgunned.
Fed up with the obvious lies, a young independent investigator named Ron Cole decided it was time to get involved. He packed his bags and headed for Waco. After talking with eyewitnesses and conducting his own research, Ron Cole arrived at the obvious conclusion. Using a scale model of Mount Carmel, he relates the sequence of events that fateful Sunday morning.
Those people that I've talked to that were in a position to see the helicopters indicate the helicopters fired first, whereas those that were at the front of the center couldn't see the helicopters, could hear them, but saw the agents exiting the cattle trailers. They say the first shots came from these ATF agents at the front. That's why I'm saying it seems to me the shots were fired from agents at the front and from the helicopters within seconds of each other, which means there would not have been enough time for some emergency code word to have been used or for someone else inside to fire the first shot that would have initiated simultaneous fire from the ground and from the air within seconds of each other. That indicates to me that this was planned in advance. It was a frontal assault from the ground and air support coming in from the back, simultaneous pre-planned attack.
We practiced for it. They drilled over and over again. And we had our plan down, we had a diversion down.
When the ATF agents arrived at Mount Carmel, they should have noticed the Branch Davidian men were not where they were expected to be. Ron Cole explains.
When the two ATF cattle trailers pulled into the driveway from WE Ranch Road out in front of the property, the team that was in the first cattle trailer, they were